Hey, what's going on, Cashflow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180. This video, we are going through the 10 questions that you as a life insurance agent can ask prospects so you can dive deeper, get them to really think about life insurance in a bit of a different way. And if you are somebody who's watching this video who's not a life insurance agent and you are interested in possibly getting life insurance for yourself, these are going to be 10 questions that I really encourage you to ponder and contemplate to gather the importance of your human life value, to gather the importance that life insurance plays as a role in your personal finances. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so question number one is, if life insurance didn't cost a thing, how much do you think you would need? How much do you think it would take to take care of your family and actually replace you? Because this is something to really consider. Life insurance is never a need-based conversation, in my opinion. It's always a want-based conversation. But the problem is, it's not a matter of need or want, it's a matter of value. And a lot of times people just have a hard time reconciling the fact that, mortality is a real risk, and, what would it look like for my family if I were not here? And how much would I need in money, in a pile of money, in one payout, to be able to make sure that my wife and my kids, or my spouse and my kids, were taken care of? And ultimately, when you come from the perspective of thinking about, all right, let's not think about the cost of this. Let's think about the problem that it's going to solve should this challenge arise. And then we can figure out from a cost perspective, how much can you actually afford? But we can't start with a cost. Let's start with thinking about the fact that, all right, if it didn't cost a thing, how much would I actually need? Remove the emotion from it, look at it analytically, and go from there. So my second favorite question that I ask prospects is, what is your understanding of life insurance and how it works? The challenge is, most people don't fully understand the full leverage, power, and ability that life insurance has in your life. Obviously, there's all sorts of different products. Our focus predominantly is term life insurance, whole life insurance, and then annuities, figuring out how life insurance companies can solve these different problems. Now, not all insurance products are created equally. The challenge is, most people just look at life insurance as death insurance, and it's everything but that, right? Like, life insurance should not ever just be seen as death insurance, because it actually solves so many more problems. And so when we look at this, and when we ask our prospects to contemplate or consider, like, what is your understanding of life insurance? Can you explain to me how you think life insurance will work in your life? And that allows them to kind of open up to you, but it also enables you to learn, seek first to understand, and then be understood. The problem is, most of the time as life insurance agents, we're not asking these crucial conversations or crucial questions that are letting us understand where our prospects and the people that we're trying to serve ultimately are coming from. And then we just verbally vomit all over them all these concepts and sales ideas and products that we think they should have, but we don't even have a clear understanding of what they believe or what they think or what they understand. And so by asking them their level of understanding about life insurance, or what they believe about life insurance before even getting going, what role life insurance can play in their life, that will make a huge impact. If they say, hey, I just think I need it for death insurance, well, if they don't bring up living benefits, if they don't bring up the ability to have it as an emergency fund, if they don't bring up any of these other areas that you're able to serve them, you can kind of pivot that conversation and say, hey, listen, I think, the death insurance component is a really important part, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but life insurance can actually do these other things for you as well. And that can lead you into some other conversations. But I think starting and not being ashamed of the fact that you're a life insurance agent is really key, because it can lead or open the door for some of these other great conversations. So the third question that I think is important to ask is, how much do you think life insurance costs? Because if you don't have clarity about where they're coming from on this perspective and what they believe about life insurance and how much it costs, well, then you can't have a conversation around values, right? It's hard to pivot it back to, dealing with the elements of the role that life insurance plays, because all they're going to be thinking about while you're talking about all the benefits is the cost, and I can't afford it, or I can't do this, I can't do that. So it's easy to just address this crucial question up front, because you can either let them realize like, all right, maybe it does cost as much as you think, but it's not a question of cost, it's a question of value. Or maybe they think it's gonna cost more than it actually does, and you can, kind of give them peace of mind around that concept and the fact that they actually can afford it. And ultimately, even if cash flow is an issue, you can then open up different conversations around how you can help them find money they're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily, help them reposition that money to accomplish the goals in their financial life that they're looking to do, right? So once again, the beautiful part about this is starting with these life insurance questions, it opens the doors up for so many more. All right, so the fourth question, and this is a classic life insurance question, is that if you knew you were gonna die tomorrow, how much life insurance would you wanna buy? And this is a tricky one because obviously it's a bit of a baited question in the sense that obviously if we knew we would die tomorrow, I think every single person in the world would buy as much as possible. But this goes to the emotional component and the fact that, hey, if you are saying that you believe that you would buy as much as you could if you knew you were gonna die tomorrow, well, we don't know we're gonna die tomorrow. And so the question is like, what would your family look like if you died tomorrow? Right? And you're just, once again, we're just trying to get them down this perspective of thinking about value, not just cost, thinking about the role that life insurance plays, not just cost, thinking about, the problems that this life insurance policy is going to solve for our prospective clients and the people that we're trying to serve. That is the key, that we need to get this beyond the conversation about cost. And they need to understand the value and the role that it plays, the problems that it solves, not just in their life, but in their family's life, in their demise. So the fifth question, and this is in no particular order, but the fifth question is, what were your thoughts and concerns when you first reached out to inquire about life insurance? Or when you first agreed to take this meeting? Because make no mistake about it, if a prospect meets with you, if you're a prospect or if you're looking to get life insurance, you're watching this video right now, and you are thinking about life insurance for yourself. And so my question is, what are your thoughts and concerns? What's having you reach out? What's having you watch this video? What's having you take this meeting with me to learn about life insurance? What are the things that are going through your mind? And what are the things that are going through your heart? What are the things that are keeping you up at night when you're thinking about this? And those are things that you need to understand as a life insurance agent as you are having this conversation with your prospects. Because make no mistake about it, these are the things that really drive the buying behavior of people. People make decisions emotionally and then they validate those decisions with logic. If we get into cost and analysis and illustrations and all this stuff before, that is all the logic. If we get into all the logic before we talk about the emotion, which is, hey man, hey friend, what's keeping you up at night? What is having you reach out to me? What is it that's really getting you to consider life insurance on this level at this point in time? When you understand that, you can then serve them and go deeper, in many more ways. And now you're able to open up the channels of the different problems that life insurance can solve, and you can open their perspectives to all the different solutions that it can provide. So the sixth question I think is important to ask as a life insurance agent is, what other life insurance do you currently have right now to provide for whatever need that you have, right? Because here's the deal. A lot of people have life insurance, and a lot of times, most of the time, in fact, that life insurance is actually what's called group insurance, and it's through their employer. The problem is, group insurance is not the most affordable insurance because it's group insurance. So by the nature of group insurance, if you're a healthy person, you're not getting the best deal on the insurance coverage. Secondly, you don't really own that insurance, and that insurance is really tied to your job. So, if you lose your job, you lose that insurance most of the time. And typically it's not going to be even nearly enough. Like if you're somebody who makes $100,000 a year, you'll probably get $250,000, $300,000 through your employer, maybe if you're lucky. That's not even close to enough for most people to actually accomplish what they want to accomplish with life insurance, for life insurance to solve the needs that they want. On top of that, your group insurance policies are not going to have living benefits with it typically, and they're also not going to have a savings component to it typically. So it's not going to knock out the emergency fund need. It's not going to have the living benefits to go with it, and so it's not going to solve those problems for you. So that's that. All right, so the seventh question is, imagine your spouse passes away tonight. What financial needs would you have? And this is a lot harder for people to think about sometimes because I think about myself. I'm the breadwinner in our house, right? but my wife and my 3 kids. I think about the fact, what are the roles that she plays? I mean, yeah, my wife helps me with my business, and I would probably have a harder time even than most people, beyond the emotional component of it. Just like logistically, my wife helps me a lot with the business in kind of behind the scenes elements. So I'd have to kind of deal with not having her there as a post to lean on sometimes. But she also does a lot of things with our kids, right? And so, obviously family is a really important thing. Being able to dedicate our time and make sure that the family structure is built for stability and for love and for, being present for our kids, all important stuff. So I think about the fact that if my wife died, and I'm just going to use myself as an example, what would that look like for me? Well, I'd have a period of mourning, right? I would want to be able to be present. I'd want to be there for my kids, and I'd want to make sure I had enough money dedicated and allocated to making sure I could make that transition, right? Even if my wife isn't a breadwinner, even if she's not providing income for the family, there is a ton of value that she brings to the table, right? And when I look at the value that she brings to the table, and I think about what would the consequence of her passing be, it would be me not being able to make money. Because I know me, I'm not going to want to just go to work every day and do what I do. I probably take a little break. I mean, doing what I do, I'd probably actually document it a little bit and share my story because I think it would help people. But I think most people would need a break, and you'd probably want to be present with your kids. And I know I would want to work less, spend more time with my kids, help them through the transition, help with counseling, help with all these different things. That all comes with a cost. And then once I'm ready to get back to work, what does it look like then? Who's going to help pick my kids up from school when I'm working and doing videos and traveling and speaking and doing all these things? Who's going to help handle all those different elements of life that I need to be handled? I'm going to have to hire a full-time au pair or nanny or some sort of assistant to help me do that. And that's probably a $50,000 a year job. And so how much life insurance do I need to replace her value that she brings to the family? If it's $50,000 a year, I'm going to need $1.25 million ish in a life insurance policy just to cover that need. And so when we look at it like that, it's a completely game changer. And what happens is when you ask that question to people, it gets the breadwinner to think a little bit differently about the value that their spouse brings, which is always a really good thing. That's, I think, super healthy for relationships. And B, for the person who is not there, they're going to be thinking about the breadwinner and what would happen to me, right? Like, as if my wife, if I ask that question, I'm sitting down with a husband and a wife, and one's a breadwinner and one's not. When I ask that question, they're both going to be thinking about it through different lenses, but the perspective still has a lot of value with it. And so now it goes from the conversation of like, oh, I don't need insurance on my wife because, I make all the money. That doesn't matter. It's not a matter of you making all the money. It's what does life look like? Life is about more than money. You know what I mean? And how you live your life, how you show up in your life. Money is a tool to live the life that you want to live, and make no mistake about it. Just because maybe the non-breadwinning spouse is not bringing income to the family, he still brings a ton of value to the family. And that is important to understand. So that's a great question to ask. So that leads to question number 8, which is, if your spouse passes away, have you considered about what other financial needs you would have, and what other needs in general you would have? And I just kind of touched on it a little bit, but the thing is once again, we're just diving deeper into this, and you can see how these questions kind of stack a little bit sometimes, and one kind of feeds into the next. But it's really important to understand, like, as you're going through this process, these questions that are going to be completely relevant, to make that emotional connection, to get them to start thinking less logically and more emotionally about this process, because there is no greater emotional decision than to buy life insurance. So another question to ask, the 9th question I would say here, and this is kind of a one-off, but it's basically, have you ever considered what would happen to your family if the income that you're contributing to the family stopped tomorrow, right? This is less of a life insurance question and more of a question about their value. And the challenge is, we're not talking about necessarily, hey, what happens if you die tomorrow, which we asked that question earlier, right? And once again, you wouldn't ask that and then ask this. This is something to ask if you're not so comfortable going right to the mortality element of the conversation. So if you start talking about like what happens if your income stops, well, if your income stops, that could be because of a job loss, that could be because of a lot of things, but it gets them to think about the consequence of a lack of income and how it would impact everybody. And so then you can kind of transition that conversation into the value that they're bringing to the table and what it would actually take to replace that value. And that's where life insurance comes in. So finally, this is another question to really contemplate your human life value, but it's if you were driving to work tomorrow and you got killed by a drunk driver, how much do you think that your family would sue for? Because that number that they would sue for, they're only going to be able to get what your value is worth, right? And so from that perspective, how much do you think they would sue for tells you how much do you think you're worth. And how much you think you're worth, if you don't have an insurance amount up to the level that you think they're worth, then there's a gap. Remember, the important thing here is that people need to align their money and make their financial decisions that are in alignment with their values and beliefs. You as a life insurance agent can't go to anybody and tell them, hey, Chris, your human life value is $8 million, so therefore you need to have $8 million of life insurance. It doesn't work that way because like somebody says that to me and I go, I don't know if I believe you, or I don't know like how you even came up with that number. But if somebody asks me a question and says, hey, Chris, how much do you think your family would sue if you got killed in a drunk, by a drunk driver tomorrow? I would sit there and I would go, ooh, wow, that's a great question. Like, what would my family sue for? And I start thinking about why they would sue for it and all these different things and what I bring to the table. Now I'm thinking emotionally what's happening and I come up with a number and let's just say it's $8 million. Now the insurance agent could ask me and say, hey, well, so how much insurance do you have right now? And if I say, well, I got $1 million because I think that's enough, or $2 million because I think that's good. Well, it's easy to have a conversation now about what is the gap between what I believe now I'm worth because I just said it, right? Because I just said, yeah, I think $8 million is the number that they would sue for. I now realize that I have this like cognitive separation about, an emotional separation and I've got this emotional awareness that what I actually have is not what I'm worth. And that wasn't because an insurance agent told me I needed it. It's because I came to the realization based on the question that was asked. And so that's important to understand. So those are the 10 questions. Now I do have more questions that I'm going to be going into deeper on the next video that we're going to be releasing. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the bell that way you're notified every time I launch a new video, because these questions were all formulated around very, very specific life insurance stuff. However, as we've said, life insurance is so much more than just death insurance and living benefits. From an ABR perspective, accelerated benefit rider is ABR. It is about what we can do with the cash value along the way, and ultimately, how do we operate as financially efficiently as possible, getting our dollars perform multiple functions. The next video, I'm going to talk about how to take the questions that we just asked, take them to the next level, and pivot into having a much deeper financial education conversation. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. Till next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. Talk soon. See ya.